Putting Who Day in your day on the Adam and Adams show.
Marie!
What?
Babe, can you go get me some more Cubanisto? I don't have any more Cubanisto, please.
Pardon? Mais ça va pas ou quoi? Mais va le chercher ton cubanisto. Lui, non? Il est fou, j'y crois pas. Mieux.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Adam and Adams show with your co-host Adam Stilley and my partner in crime on this first day of the draft, Mr. Glenn Cincy de France Adams, aka Brooklyn Shuffle. How are you today?
I'm great, Adam. How are you?
Doing great. I'm doing great.
Oh, wow. I missed those days. Hey, Adam, I know why everybody is here today, but before I get to that, like Jay-Z said, you could have been anywhere in the world, but you decided to be here with us. So we really appreciate you clicking on this, and we hope you enjoy it. But Adam, I know why everybody is here today.
To talk about the draft.
No, they're all worried about Julian Alaphillpie, and I have good news for you. At Liège-Bastogne-Liège last week, Julian Alaphillpie suffered a horrendous crash, and it was a really scary moment. He hit a tree. He wasn't moving there for a while, and his compatriot Romain Bardet, he checked on him, obviously concerned, and even after the race, Romain Bardet was visibly shaken, and it was a scary moment. I guess he never lost consciousness, I guess, but at one point he wasn't moving, but now he's in the hospital. He's still in the hospital. 2 broken ribs, a broken scapula, and a collapsed lung. So, I mean, he's probably, unfortunately, out for the Tour de France this year, unless there's some type of miracle. But I seriously doubt he makes the Tour de France this year. But hopefully he will make a full recovery, and that's what's most important.
Yeah, well, I hate to hear that. I've never heard of him before, but you never.
I talked about him last week.
Yeah, well, I forgot his name. I'm still going with Pikachu. On this one. So
Pogacar.
Pikachu, whatever. Anyway, but no, I hate that. I hate that he suffered that crash, and I do wish him a very speedy recovery. And to you, Glenn, and all the viewers out there, I wanted to take this moment to show you that I actually am paying attention. I wore my Le Tour de France shirt. Just for the occasion. Le Tour. Okay, Pikachu, poke, whatever. Anyway, so yeah. Anything else we need to know in the world of cycling?
I'm winning you over, and that's what's the most important.
Yeah, I will say you won me over on the F1 series, Drive to Survive. It is my absolute favorite thing on TV right now. I am totally sucked in. I can't stop watching it. The theater, the drama, it's amazing. And I would encourage anyone, even if you don't like race cars or racing in general. And I'm not a racing fan, but this series is, it'll keep you on the edge of your seat. It's fantastic.
Now imagine that for cycling.
If it's anything like that, I would tune in. Absolutely.
Look at you. I told you guys last week I was winning him over with my cycling, and now you have the proof.
Baby steps,
definitely.
Putting Who Day in your day on the Adam and Adams show. All right, so here we are, first day of the draft. But before we talk about that, there was some interesting news, and Glenn, you actually posted about this yesterday before the draft. Some news about Jackson Carman, of course, the second round left tackle who they converted to guard out of Clemson. So Glenn, can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Do I have to? Like, really? I think I'm going to just post a link to the article in the comments or just in the description for this, and you can read it for yourself. Parental discretion advised. And I will just say it is not good. It is not a good look. Definitely for Jackson Carman. I feel bad for the young, I don't even want to say young woman, the young girl involved, I believe. she's still 17, only 17. So I mean, it was very disturbing, a very, very disturbing article. I don't want to talk about that as much as I want to talk about here anyway. I don't want to talk about that as much as I want to talk about the football side, because apparently the Bengals, either they did know and they didn't care, or they didn't know enough, which I find improbable, because apparently in the article it said at one point that a message or a prepared speech or something was delivered to address the situation or something like that. And it's like, all right, even if you didn't know what was going on, at least you should have some questions. At least you should investigate a little bit further. And then we have all of these anonymous scouts and executives talking about how small the Bengals scouting department is. And this isn't concerning football. This is concerning like doing your due diligence on players. Like, how could you miss this? And so that's kind of scary. And also, you know, I wasn't a big Jackson Carman fan last year. I'm not sure if you were anyway. That was just the football side. And now this comes out and it's like, well, what were you doing? What were you thinking? How could this happen? And for Zach Taylor to sit down, we just drafted our first pick this year. Zach Taylor comes to the podium and he says, just so you know, I have no comment. I know about it, but I'm not going to comment on the situation. It's like, dude, comment, say something. Like, explain how this could happen. So I'm really concerned about that. I've always been defensive when it comes to the Cincinnati Bengals and their small scouting department. But in this case, yeah, man, if that was a reason to miss this, and please go check out the article for yourself. I don't really feel comfortable talking about it here now. You know, young people might be watching this time. I really feel bad that the Bengals have such a small scouting department. That story is just amazingly awful. F true, I guess we have to say, allegedly, F true, etc. But the Bengals should have done a little bit more due diligence, or perhaps they did and they just decided there's nothing there. There's no there. What do you think about that?
Well, I think first of all, it's not on us to speculate. You know, these accusations and what happened and all that. But you're right, from a football standpoint, it's concerning either way. It's either the Bengals turned a blind eye to this, or they simply didn't know. And I agree with you. I don't see how you don't know, you know, because in that article, it mentioned that there were several teams who either just took him off their draft board altogether or slid him way down. And there were the Bengals picking in the second round and took him. Beyond the story, though, another reason why teams didn't feel comfortable drafting him, especially in that position, is the herniated disc he had in his back, which is a concern. So, you know, when we feel as Bengals fans like we're starting to turn the page and really, you know, moving forward, you know, you could talk about the history of the organization, especially in the Mike Brown era, the culture and all that. And you think that they're turning a page, and then something like this comes out. It's really disappointing. I hope for everyone involved that this gets resolved. I hope everyone, you know, finds peace with this. But from a football standpoint, it is pretty unsettling.
Now, every time Zach Taylor says culture, are we bringing guys that do things the right way or something like that, I'm going to think twice. And I don't want to have to think twice.
Who Day in Your Day on the Adam and Adams Show. As you mentioned, Glenn, everyone go check out the link if you're if you want more information on the story. But other than that, we had a first round of the 2022 NFL draft in Las Vegas last night. You watched it?
Unfortunately, or fortunately, I set my alarm, got up, woke up at 2:15 a.m. and haven't been back to sleep since. It is now 6:25 p.m. and I'm running on fumes. But you know what? I'm here and I'm going to do it again tonight. Why? Who Day. That's why.
That's right. Doing it for you all. So a couple of the things we wanted to talk about tonight. Of course, we do want to talk a little bit about the Bengals pick at 31, and then maybe some surprises, and then also maybe some. And actually, I have kind of a top 5 of list of things that I noticed in the draft that I thought were bright spots for some of these teams.
You have a top 5 as well?
I did. I came up with a top 5.
Well,
so
did
yeah,
I.
Wait. You came up with a top 5 too?
I did.
We do this every week.
Man, we are incognito.
The shenanigans.
That's not the word I was looking for, but yeah.
Simpatico. We are simpatico.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Simpatico.
Yeah. So, all right. So let's talk about the Bengals. The Bengals picked at 31. They did not trade up or back. They kept their pick at 31. Definitely some names on the board that were rumored or hyped for the Bengals to pick at that spot. And the Bengals went with a guy that you really, really liked in our pre-draft discussion in Daxton Hill, corner safety DB out of Michigan. So Glenn, tell me your thoughts on that trade. What do you like about it?
My thoughts on that pick, I loved it. I mean, it was Dax Hill. So who were we going to pick at that point? Like there, we had Kaiir Elam was gone. That was my guy. I thought maybe we could trade back and get Roger McCreary. I even thought we could trade back and get Daxton Hill, but I didn't want them to move too far back to get Daxton Hill. And obviously they were thinking the same thing. And I love that pick. Obviously, you know, people are always talking about versatility. I think versatility is a thing on defense, not with the offensive line, but I think that's going to play a key role with this pick because, as I argued before, I think he has the measurables, the size, the speed, etc., to play outside on the boundary. However, he played mostly in the slot, and for everybody projecting him to be a safety in the NFL, because of course that's what most people are doing, he spent most of his time in the slot. He was a slot corner. So I guess because you play slot corner well and you're a good tackler, then automatically that makes you a safety. I don't know. I think he'll be good in the slot. Also, another thing, we have Mike Hilton. There are going to be lots of slot receivers in the game. You know, you have your third wide receiver, who's a slot receiver. You have the tight end. You have running backs coming out of the backfield. You have 4 wide receivers. Some people spread it out, 5 wide receivers. There are 2 slots on the field a lot. So I think you bring in Daxton Hill. He can play the slot corner, free safety, third safety role. He can get on the field right away. Special teams, third safety, backup, free safety, backup slot. Yeah, I love the pick. I love his production. I love his measurables. I love everything about him. Who else was there that you wanted to pick at 31 that you didn't want to trade back for to pick?
Yeah, I've been on record. I love Andrew Booth. I would not have been disappointed had the Bengals selected him there. He's somebody that did not work out at his pro day. He had a surgery for a sports hernia injury in the offseason, and I think that scared off some teams. Honestly, I didn't think he'd fall past the Patriots in their spot. We'll talk about the Patriots in a minute. But yeah, Andrew Booth, I would have loved that pick. But when Commissioner Goodell said Daxton Hill's name, I felt good. I felt really good about it. He's a guy, 4.3 speed, can hit like a Scud missile. If anything, they soup Nazi'd Jesse Bates. They said no soup for you. So
I don't think so, because I think we can move forward with both of them actually.
This season,
if we had this season and beyond, to infinity and beyond, I think we could. Now, is he insurance against losing Jesse Bates? Perhaps. I think I would love to keep him at corner and keep Jesse Bates at safety. I would love, even if Jesse Bates moves on, to find another Jesse Bates replacement in next year's draft. I don't think this spells the end of Jesse Bates necessarily.
Okay, I can see that. And the funny part is that Daxton Hill's number in college is 30. Number 30. Yeah. Oh, by the way, I asked you how you like the trade earlier. I meant to say pick. But anyway, I digress. Okay. The one thing that this does is it puts the ball in the Bengals' court if they're going to continue to have contract discussions. Bates at this point has no more leverage with the Bengals. Did the Bengals want Bates? Absolutely. Thank you for your service. Absolutely. He's been phenomenal. Arguably the best safety in the league, through the last couple of years. So this is not me saying, see ya, Bates, I want to see you go. It's me saying, I think that the Bengals now are in full control with these contract negotiations. Jesse Bates has something to lose as far as this team and this discussion is concerned. The Bengals really don't, because Daxton Hill can step in and he can be a replacement for Bates at some point if he stays at safety.
What position does Jesse Bates play?
Jesse Bates is a safety.
What's the franchise tag going to be next year? Even on the second one, it's not going to be some absurdly obscene number to franchise tag a free safety 2 years in a row. So even if Jesse Bates goes out here and balls, the Bengals might say, hey, great season, resign. He's going to say no. And they might say, hey, here's a franchise tag. What, 15 million, 16 million? I guess there's a bump, right? So we take whatever the franchise tag is going to be next year for free safeties. Let's call it 14 million. It's probably lower than that. And now let's say we bump it up and he gets paid 18 million. That's still under the 22 million a year he's going to want next year. So we might piss him off with that. But teams have franchise players twice, 2 years in a row. So it could happen with Jesse Bates as well. It's not like we're talking about, hell, Kirk Cousins gets franchised every year. Or at least he did. I mean, and that's a bigger number than whatever the free safety is going to get. So yeah, we could franchise him twice.
Yeah. And we'd have to make the assumption that he's going to play on the franchise tag. He wouldn't be the first player that holds out. But again,
where you gonna go as Bob Castellano? Where you gonna go?
Fair point. But anyway, yeah, I think so. I think we're both in agreement that Dax Hill was a great pick there.
I love it.
Yeah. So, and now we look to the second round, second and third round, really the rest of the draft.
Who Day in your day on the Adam and Adams show.
There were, and I was kind of taking some notes. There's still some players on the board that I don't know that they would necessarily drop to the Bengals, but some of the best prospects that are still available. I did find it interesting that only one quarterback was taken in the first round of the draft. Of course, that's not a position of need for the Bengals, but I did find that pretty interesting. Of course, Andrew Booth is still there. Jamari Salyer is still there. He wasn't projected to be a first round pick anyway. A couple of receivers, Christian Watson, Sky Moore, George Pickens. I'm not sure that that's a position that Bengals would target this soon. But you still have like Travis Jones, Bernard Ryman, Nakobe Dean, Boye, a couple of really good edge rushers that were projected first rounds, and Boye Mafe and David Ojabo, who had the Achilles injury. But then your boy Roger McCreary and maybe even Kyler Gordon, who I know you're not as big on, but all the tight ends are still out there too. So if we're looking at the second round, is there anything that jumps out at you, somebody that might fall and the Bengals could take a look at?
I have my universe of players. Like, I'm sitting here like this. If Roger McCreary falls, that's a no-brainer for me. Trey McBride, consistent number one tight end in the draft. I would love that. You know how I feel about Jake Ferguson, but if we grab McBride, I wouldn't complain. Marcus Jones, still on the board. Maybe can grab him in the third round. Cameron Thomas. What am I doing? I think he's David Pollock. What am I doing there? Is it a white guy that wears number 99? Maybe that's it. Maybe that's what I'm doing. But I think he could be like the next David Pollock. And of course, my favorite, Zach Tom. So if any of those guys are there, I even wrote down Sam Williams, but I think he might be there in the third round, maybe. Any of those guys fell to the Bengals. At this point, I'm just hoping one of those guys falls.
Would it make sense for the Bengals to trade up in the second round to get any of these guys?
Do you think they would?
I don't think they will, but would it make sense?
It would make sense for me, sure. if you're really going to play Daxton Hill in the slot or project him to be a free safety, Eli Apple is still your starting corner. This isn't hate against Eli Apple. This is just he's on a 1-year contract as well. We need a boundary corner, a guy who can hit, who can tackle. I think you know how I feel about Roger McCreary. So I hesitated between McCreary and Hill in the mock draft that we did. So yeah, I love Roger McCreary. I love Zach Tom. I think he'll be there. I think somebody has a chance to be there. I don't think the Bengals are going to trade up. If anything, I think they might trade back. So yeah, but yeah, Cameron Thomas, Roger McCreary, Trey McBride, Zach Tom are my 4. Outside looking in, Marcus Jones, who has a chance to be there in the 3rd round. But who are your preferences? I know a couple.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I've gone on record that I do like Jamari Salyer. I think that at this point he's probably your starting left guard. So
that's a need now.
That's the point. I think Salyer, if he's there for the Bengals in the 2nd, I'd have a really hard time passing on him.
You're not gonna like this. I know. I'm sorry, people. But going back to the first subject, is he going to get suspended? Is he going to get the non-football list or whatever? Is he going to be available? I'm talking about Carman. Is he going to be available to the Bengals? Like at this point now, all of a sudden, yeah, guard is in need.
Yeah.
We thought, hey, we have the 2nd round pick. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's so disappointing football wise.
Yeah. And why does it come out just yesterday? The day of the draft is when it comes out. It's odd timing to me.
It didn't even come out during the Super Bowl.
Right.
Like if there was some malfeasance or something going on, you would have thought it would have come out during the Super Bowl. But no, I don't know. I don't know how those things work when it comes to that.
Well, the Bengals don't want to talk about it, but they're going to have to talk about it. Yeah. They made the pick, that's on their shoulders. They need to sleep in that bed. So other than that, though, anything, let's move on to the 1st round of the draft last night. Not
Zach Tom left tackle, Jonah Williams left guard.
Okay. Hey. Okay. I'm on board.
Who Day in your day on the Adam and Adams show.
Let's talk about the 1st round of the draft. Anything, of course, trades galore. If the offseason, the pre-draft offseason was any indication of how the draft was going to go, it was perfectly scripted then because the craziness and the melee continue. So what jumped out at you in the 1st round last night?
Well, the trades, of course. Only one quarterback going to Pittsburgh as well. I don't feel great about that, actually. I'm kind of nervous about that. But other than that, I do have a list of my 5 favorite picks from yesterday's draft, yesterday's 1st round. Mm-hmm. Starting at number 5, a tie, Trevor Penning to New Orleans and Linderbaum to Baltimore. I know I just pissed off a whole bunch of people, but you know what? Bleep off. I loved it. I was so happy. Adam, man.
I was thinking about you.
Yeah, Trevor Penning went off the board and then Linderbaum, and I was like, I'm happy. This makes me happy. This makes me smile. Yeah. Anyway, Trent McDuffie, dude, Kansas City, how many great DBs do you need? And the fact that Trent McDuffie was sitting there at 21, he was my favorite. He was my 2nd favorite behind Sauce Gardner, but he was my 2nd favorite DB in this draft, and he was still there at 21. I was like, ugh. I didn't think he would make it, but I was like, ugh. And Kansas City traded up to get him, so that jumped out to me. Kaiir Elam going to Buffalo, 2 picks after McDuffie. Ahmad Sauce Gardner, congratulations. You're a New York Jet. I hope you ball out. We love watching you play for Cincinnati. You're amazing. I hope that continues. I love that for him. I love that for New York Jets, but I love that for him especially. And then if there is one team I'm jealous of, it's the San Diego Chargers. these dudes. They got Rashawn Slater last year, and then they got our guard Zion Johnson this year. Bleep, man, bleep. That was like the biggest thing that jumped out to me yesterday was I'm scared of the Chargers. Like I would give them an A+ for last year and this year. And they got Justin Herbert. Man, I fear the Chargers. How about you? What jumped out to you?
Yeah, and I agree with you on the Chargers. Yeah, that was a really good pick. I also thought Kenyon Green went sooner than I had projected or that I had thought. But Houston saw him there and grabbed him. So
I hope they play him at left guard, because if they don't, they're going to be it's going to be a bad surprise.
Yeah. Couple other things that jumped out when the Ravens traded up and picked Kyle Hamilton. Like, oh no, the panic button went off in my head. He's just so dynamic, and to drop to 14, I mean, one of the top 3 prospects in the draft. If you looked at the pre-draft rankings, that was a good pick. But
as safety,
it's safety. Yeah. The strangest pick in the draft, very, very strange. The Patriots picking Cole Strange.
Yeah.
Where they did. Yeah. What? And that's
Doctor Strange next week, Wednesday.
That's right. That's right. Maybe that's why they picked him. I mean,
the madness.
The only thing I can think is that Cole Strange has dirt on Robert Kraft. There might be pics. He might be holding on to some pics somewhere, pictures somewhere of. Anyway,
watch him become an all-pro rookie.
Well, it's Belichick. But I will say, do you remember when I was talking about Travis Jones and my love affair that I had with Travis Jones? And he was picking on this safety, just ragdolling this guy, making him look like a toddler. It was Cole Strange. I mean, he just completely dominated him. You could look it up.
The center.
The center.
Yeah.
What did I say?
Safety, I think.
The center. I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm getting my words mixed up today.
We're tired.
I didn't understand it. I did not understand that at all, and I don't think anybody did. So, but yeah, I have a top 5 as well, and it's not necessarily in a particular order. Oh, the AJ Brown trade, first of all, very surprising. Actually, if you were a prolific receiver named Brown, you were not safe on your current team yesterday, because Marquise Brown got traded too.
Or you're about to get paid.
I thought it was. Of course, it was a surprise, but I thought it was mutually beneficial for Titans fans, or for both fans, Eagles and Titans. The Titans were not going to pay AJ Brown, clearly, and the Eagles are giving him $100 million contract. I think I read
4 years, $100 million.
Yeah, and this is for a receiver who, quite frankly, can't stay healthy. So now, with that said, if he does, then the Eagles got a dynamic receiver, somebody that completely changes their offense. But then I also thought that. With the Titans trading down to get Treylon Burks, I thought, well, that's brilliant. So you're letting AJ Brown go. You don't have to sign him to that long-term deal, but you also got a dynamic receiver in Treylon Burks, who's going to be the future, of that team on the wide receiver position. So,
can I ask a question?
Yes.
I'm finding it a bit cringy now. I used to love the inside looks into the war rooms. And now for some reason, when I saw that, I was like, ooh, no, this seems cringy. They got up, they did the awkward hug and stuff. And I was like, no, I don't know why. It's just at that point, I was like, no, I don't want to see that. I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
I don't mind seeing it, because that means that, it's not just a bunch of teams on a Zoom call doing the draft. So at least we're back together again, I guess.
Well, yeah. But I wasn't even thinking COVID. I was just thinking, why are you guys so happy?
But the Eagles, good draft, moving up to get Jordan Davis, I thought was huge for them too. Their D line is really good.
Yeah.
To my top 5, first thing I started with was I thought the Lions had a really good draft. They got Aiden Hutchinson, who by many accounts was the best prospect in this draft. So they have a pass rusher on defense that's going to change things. But then they traded up to get Jamison Williams. If you remember, Amon-Ra St. Brown, who was their dynamic rookie last year, came out and said, get us another receiver. We need weapons. And sure enough, they did. So I'm going to give them a little credit there. I think the Lions are sneakily getting better. They have a running back in DeAndre Swift, who's a young talent. Now they have 2 legit wideouts. They have a great pass catching tight end who's still young. Now, Jared Goff is still the quarterback. I think there's a good chance that a quarterback is going to fall to them in the second round. If they don't trade up, I think that they may grab one there. So I think the Lions are doing some good work in this draft so far. My number 2 was I loved the Steelers taking Kenny Pickett. I loved it because I projected 3 quarterbacks to go in the first round. I've seen more projected. The thing is that quarterback needy teams who picked before the Steelers, and when I say quarterback needy, I think I'm being generous, passed up on these guys. This is not a deep quarterback class. Now, good for Kenny Pickett. He gets to stay in Pittsburgh. The Steelers O-line is a disaster. They are a train wreck. If Pickett comes in and starts day one, okay, so if they decide that he's better than Trubisky, I think he's going to have he's a rookie quarterback. I think he's going to have some issues.
I don't think he's going to start though.
Yeah, he may not. But my point is that all of these quarterback needy teams passing on all of these quarterbacks, to me, it says that, this is not a slam dunk by any means. I am not afraid of a Kenny Pickett led Steelers offense. So that was the second thing.
I was a bit nervous.
Yeah.
My initial reaction was, ooh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I get it.
My number 3 was I thought KC had an awesome draft. You already mentioned it. They traded up for Trent McDuffie and then George Karlaftis, who I'd seen in top 10 projections, fell all the way to them towards the end of the draft. If those guys were on KC's defense this past playoff, this past postseason, the Bengals may not have been playing in the Super Bowl. So,
their secondary, we torched their secondary. Mm-hmm. To be fair, we torched them. And their secondary was good last year. Then they got Trent McDuffie. And it's like, all right, they're going to be better, obviously. And maybe we'll be able to torch them again. I hope so.
And here's the thing, too. In years past, it was only us talking about NFC North or AFC North rivals. Now we're talking about the entire AFC because that's
good point.
Because that's the gauntlet they have to run through. So kudos to KC. Had a great draft, I thought.
Times have changed.
Yeah. The Jets traded back up into the first round. They had 3 first-round picks. They got Sauce. They got Garrett Wilson, the receiver. And then they got Jermaine Johnson, who also fell quite a bit in the draft. The Jets are doing some work. Now, it's the Jets. We'll see. But I was pretty impressed.
And I also commented, if he went in the first round, Johnson, that means Zach Tom has to go early in the second, right? Because we got one guy who shut down the other guy.
Right.
Maybe.
Conventional wisdom. Conventional wisdom. There you go. And then that was really it. Jacksonville was the number 1 pick. To me, it's just a big risk, big reward potential. He did not have the college production that a lot of these guys did. But I did think it was interesting that they traded back in the first round to get Devin Lloyd, who I love. I thought that was a great pick. When they announced his name, I'd almost forgotten that he was still there, because I assumed he'd go a little bit earlier. But I thought that was a really good pick for them. I mean, that's kind of the long and short of it. I thought it was an interesting first round. The Packers continue to befuddle everyone. Aaron Rodgers, you need a target. All right, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna draft 2 defensive players. And the linebacker that they got, Quay Walker, Quay Walker, right? But they did get Wyatt, the interior defensive lineman on Georgia, which he fell quite a bit too. So I mean, that was a good pick. But Packers, you still need some pass catchers. So I thought that was interesting.
My hopes. We touched on the second round. I had a few players in the third round as well that I wanted to talk about. And wouldn't you know it, most of them are wide receivers. Like if Romeo Doubs is there, Nevada, he is my Tyler Boyd this year. Like he's a phenomenal receiver. He can return punts. He averaged 14 yards per punt return. I think he's phenomenal. He tested slow, but so did Tyler Boyd. These receivers are costing too much money. I don't think they can keep all three of them for the entirety of their careers. So at some point, you're going to have to make a choice. And I think Dubs is a good option. Alex Pierce in the third round, if he's there. David Bell, if David Bell is there in the third round, that shows you how deep this receivers class is. I love David Bell. Who else? And Danny Gray. Now, I think personally, I would wait to the fourth round, but PFF has him at 97. So that is right where the Bengals pick at 95. So a speedy guy, speedy receiver, the opposite of Dubs. So yeah, I love those guys in the third round. Did you take a look at the third round, guys?
Yeah, I still like Marcus Jones if he falls there.
Yeah.
Kobe Bryant, I would take a look at him, if he's there. But you make a good point on receiver because the Bengals' bread and butter is their passing game right now. I think you need insurance. So we're making the assumption that all these guys are going to stay healthy next season. And quite frankly, that, it's rare that you're going to have three of these pass catchers that are going to be healthy all season. So I'm with you. I think receiver is something the Bengals should target, being that is their bread and butter. If one of those receivers is there in the third, I would have no problem with the Bengals doing that.
Yeah. And for an outside cornerback, I mentioned him once on the outside looking in for my top 5, but apparently recently he's skyrocketed up draft boards. Damari Mathis, Pittsburgh. I have a bias for Pittsburgh defenders the last 2 years. You know this. That's why I kept him off my list, because I thought I was seeing something I wasn't, just because he's a defender for Pittsburgh. And I think we should hire their defensive coordinator, because I don't know what the hell they're doing over there. It's awesome. They're great. And apparently the NFL gurus, they think the same thing. So Damari Mathis is now, he was 7th round 2 weeks ago. And now he's like basically a 3rd round pick. So if he's there, I would be tempted. But if the Bengals were going to go receiver, I think 3rd round is a good look as well. Yeah. And if any of those guys in round 2, if they fell, yeah, I would love that, obviously. Yeah. I'm excited for tonight. Well, I'm going to be so tired tomorrow, but I'm still excited for tonight.
Tomorrow, Saturday. Hopefully you can sleep in a little
Who
bit.
Day in your day on the Adam and Adams show.
Well, any lingering thoughts on anything draft or otherwise?
Yeah, I just that Jackson Carman news about ruined my morning before it got started. I'm sitting up there 2:30 in the morning. I'm reading this article and I couldn't believe it. But yeah, and all of a sudden now, offensive line went from a luxury a little bit to now, hey, we need a starting left guard. And if you don't think any of these other guys can fill that role, Deontay Smith, I'm a big believer in Deontay Smith. I loved him in the preseason last year. I think he could possibly take over that role, but the Bengals want to use him more as a tackle. I get that. He played tackle in college, but let's see what he can do. And if not, then I think Sawyer, your guy, they're going to give him a long look in the 2nd round if he's there. I love Zach Tom. I think he's better suited for tackle than guard. Yeah, if I'm kind of leaning with you now as far as the offensive lineman, if Sawyer's there in the 2nd round, plug and play day 1 and he can start. I'm just upset that is a need now. Like, it's a must get, and I really don't like that. Yeah, that whole thing was disappointing. I'm not going to stop being a Bengals fan. There were a lot of, like, I listened to Le Batard show, and Mike Ryan, he's always saying that he's not going to be a Browns fan anymore because they got Deshaun Watson. And I get that sentiment, but at the same time, one, what team are you going to root for? Because there's always guys. And B, you're completely ignoring everybody on your team that's doing good things, that's doing good work in the community, that are good guys. You're throwing the baby out with the bathwater. So I know there's Bengals fans who might be feeling that way. Like, I'm not going to be a fan of the Bengals. I even saw one guy I follow on Twitter. He said, I follow and I respect on Twitter. And he said he's not going to watch any game that Jackson Carman plays in. And I had that same thought. I was like, yeah, but what about Joe Burrow? I don't know the dude, but he seems like a good guy. He seems like a guy who gives back a lot. And I don't think we should just dump every Cincinnati Bengals player into this pot. If these allegations are true, I don't know if they're true. If he gets suspended, I don't want to just say, hey, I'm not going to be a Bengals fan anymore. Just like I don't think all Cleveland Browns fans should say, hey, I don't want to be a Cleveland Browns fan anymore, because I'm sure there's plenty of guys in the locker room who are doing what they're supposed to do in the way they should go about it, who are really good guys. And you completely ignore them for one guy who does things that you don't like. But don't concentrate on him. Concentrate on these other guys who are doing good things. So that's what I would tell Bengals fans, right now, feeling a bit crappy with these allegations. Concentrate on the guys who are doing good in the community. We don't hear enough stories about them. So these things are salacious. I get it. But concentrate on the guys who are doing good things, and you'll feel better. And you can focus your energy on that. And I think that's a better way to go about it. I'm not going to stop being a Bengals fan. I know that. I've accepted that. I just choose to concentrate on the guys who are doing the best that they can and out here in the community, working hard, etc.
I think that's a great point. Yeah, it's a great point. Yeah, and actually the Bengals are giving us something to root for too, even with the performance on the field. So, besides that, it is an exciting time to be a Bengals fan. So, with that said, though, we're going to have our post-draft wrap-up next week. So tune in again next week where we talk about the draft, post-draft news and all things there. Probably another 161 trades. But anyway, also I want to mention, check out Glenn on StripeHype. He's a contributing writer. Does a fantastic job. Actually, I've read a few of your articles that you posted here recently, and really do a good job of summing everything up, all things Bengals related. So check out Glenn on StripeHype. But with that said, as always, like and subscribe. And we'll be back next week. Look forward to seeing you. Until next time, have a great day and have a Who Day.
Who Dey.